guys, so with JJK Phantom Parade, finally things are in motion for global. In terms of the buffs, my apologies, I did see all these happening a while back, but allergies were playing up again, so kind of had to wait it out. But I'm good. We're ready to look into on what is going down. So finally on April 11th, mark your calendars, in 6 days time, global will be reaping the reward of the balance adjustments for these set characters. I know a lot of people have instantly beamed their eyes over to Yuta and Geto, which is exactly what we want to see. This is huge. This is a massive W for global for them to bring on these two boys. I've already done my videos on these units because obviously when their buffs came in, it was during the first year anniversary, so global's getting a little bit of a nice treatment of getting them before the half anniversary. So this is a huge W. This is a huge W. That being said, more than likely there will be a movie collaboration rerun happening on global probably before the half anniversary actually pops off, specifically for the reason of them having their adjustments and it being thrown in with the other characters. So if you don't have Yuta, if you don't have Geto, and you are playing Phantom Parade, whatever, then expect a movie collaboration rerun. They did one on JP during the anniversary time, so it makes sense for them to do one now. There's also a third movie character, Miguel, of course, not a character that you need to concern yourself with. Pretty piss poor, if I'm being completely real, like B tier. So don't worry, you don't need to concern yourself with that. But with these adjustments, it's huge. Obviously, you've got Itadori getting his adjustment, Megumi, which is fantastic, of course, Nanami. Now, one thing which I need to clear up, which I've seen a few people be like, oh my god, it's happening. This is not the SP. So just to clarify, this is called SP Potential System or Unleashed, call it what you will. This is going to be added on global, probably during the anniversary or maybe after, somewhere around that time. With the balance adjustment, it's just them with their skills getting buffed, that's all. The whole SP side of things is going to be added later on. So where it shows Itadori is getting a balance adjustment, it's his skills that's going to be getting buffed. By the way, they're all getting buffed. The balance adjustment should be just called buffed adjustment, right? Or all these units getting buffed, I don't know. But it's not this. The global isn't getting this just yet. They will be very soon. So don't you worry about that. Once this comes into place, then this Itadori is going to be feeding. But this is pretty much the final part that we needed for then global to get the SP potential. Okay, so I'm not going to mess about. Let's get in on it. So pretty much, where is Geto? So obviously Geto is still one of the best characters that the game has to offer. Especially with a lot of people utilizing this man as a bit of a debuffer, you know, applying, and he has damage. I'll give him that, he's got some damage. But just to give you guys a bit of a rundown on what the changes are, so increase his own crit rate by 5%. It's a one-time deal, don't worry about that, of course. Again, the higher the cursed energy, the greater the critical rate boost will be at 65% at max 60 cursed energy. So the thing to take away from this Geto is that he's working off from having cursed energy. The more cursed energy that you have, the better the outcome of his skills will be. So obviously the more cursed energy, the higher the crit rate he'll have on the first skill. Does 180% on melee damage, of course. Again, if you have more cursed energy, more increases the damage more. So at 60 cursed energy, you get 60%. So there's that. He also increases his own Jujutsu stat by 15% for 3 turns if own cursed energy is 60 or above. So that's the key play for this Geto. More cursed energy, better results for his skills. Going furthermore into his skill 2, which is where you can apply the debuff between Taijutsu and Jujutsu. So you're doing 333 to 3 hitter Jujutsu damage, of course, decreases affected enemies Taijutsu by 28%. The more cursed energy, the more effective the percentage play is at, so at 35% if you have 30 cursed energy. Minimum of a 31% increase at 25 cursed energy. Alright. And then the second part of it is that you can also additionally increase the enemy's Jujutsu damage received by 25%. Once again, the more cursed energy has, the greater the effect, so it increases up to 50% if you have 60 cursed energy, which is max. Minimum of a 35.5% increase at 25 cursed energy. Alright. And then lastly, with his third skill, he has a 10% damage increase The more curse energy you have, the more damage he can do. So 100% increase he can get on the max damage. Sorry, on the increase in own damage. There we go. So if you've got 60 cursed energy. So basically, long story short, just make sure you've got 60 cursed energy, and then you can maximize your skill potential. And with that, he does AoE 200% Jujutsu damage. And then with the debuff, increases all enemies' damage received by 10%. If you have 60 or more cursed energy, 30% is the max value from the droppage, from the percentage mark, and then minimum of 18.4% increase at 25 cursed energy. And then lastly, on his ultimate, increases own damage by 20% for one time. If you've got 60 cursed energy, 200% disgusting. AoE damage, 760 range Jujutsu damage, increases own Jujutsu stat by 30%, unfortunately can't be stacked. On top of that, reduces own cursed energy by 60 when the ultimate skill is performed, still reduces if cursed energy bar is unfilled. So I guess the W thing about this is that, does it just did it used to, yeah, reduces own cursed energy at 0 when ultimate is performed. So I guess if you've got 60 or more, it's not going to take everything away, right? Well, if you've got more than 60, yeah, it won't take everything away because it only takes away 60, so that's a bit of a buff. But either way, that's kind of what we're looking at. So pretty much this Geto is going to be one hell of a debuffer. Now that if you've got that cursed energy in play, you can apply a huge amount of percentage drop towards the enemy, allowing you to do more damage. This is why he is SS tier. Alright, just gonna put that out there. So that is one character that is going to be highly catered for, of course. And then we got the big boy Yuta himself, which I can still remember when he got his buff on how I was genuinely shocked on the JP side of things. So pretty much when it comes to the first skill, melee damage as per usual, increases skills critical hit rate. So 80% is the post adjustment on what we're getting. By the way, all the stats that you guys have seen, it's all going to be factored in from when the adjustment happens on global. So that's one thing which I want to clarify. Second adjustment on his second skill, so deals 150% Jujutsu damage to all enemies. If own cursed energy, sorry, the higher own cursed energy is, the skill is activated, the greater the skill damage increase, up to 90% with 60 cursed energy. So very, very similar fashion of Geto. So as long as you have 60 cursed energy, you can maximize the skill. It increases all allied Jujutsu damage received by 14% for 2 turns. The higher the own cursed energy, when the skill is activated, the greater the damage received. So 35% at 60 cursed energy. There you go. Depending on Jujutsu stat, enemies remaining HP instantly kill the enemy. So yeah, if they've got a little bit of HP left, you can just insta kill. So that's pretty nice. But once again, 60 cursed energy is the energy bar required to maximize the skill output. And then when it comes to the third skill, deals a combination of 140 Jujutsu, 140 Taijutsu, 190 Jujutsu, 180 Taijutsu, and 260 Jujutsu to the selected enemy. It's a 4-hitter, and then small buff. So okay, so yeah, so all of these will be factored in during once all these get adjusted. So that's fine. But yeah, it's pretty nice. The third skill does hit pretty hard, so that's a nice little bonus. And then when it comes to the ultimate itself, realistically, oh, okay, yeah, it stays the same, nothing happens, that's fine. And so when it comes to the skill, yeah, so the characteristic did get changed, okay, that's fine. So yeah, so the zone outburst just gets moved over here now, so it increases own Jujutsu stat by 20% for 3 turns when Black Flash is performed. So that is pretty much that. But anyway, coming back to Yuta, of course, this buff, honestly, this adjustment definitely puts this man up there in terms of being one of the best red DPS that you guys can use from. So especially with how they're buffing up his second, and then of course, you know, that critical hit rate increase for his skills just makes his skills have the high chance to hit a lot more harder now. So definitely a red DPS character not to sleep on. Another character which I know we're all looking forward to is the Itadori. So again, this is just the final piece that we need before we get his SP potential, and then he starts cooking with gas. So with the adjustments, 100, oh no, let me go max level, there we go. So 190 on the Taijutsu, as a certain chance of performing a Black Flash, which is exactly what you want. This will give him such a great deal of his ult boosting. So yeah, no adjustments. Honestly, his skill 2 didn't really need it, to be fair, because again, 139 increase on critical rate, Black Flash 66, and then fills ultimate skill gauge by 241. Of course, the skill is very nice, I will say. in terms of setting up Itadori, of course. And then when it comes to his third skill, deals 430 taijutsu, decreases selected enemy's critical hit resistance by 51%. This is exactly what you want. And then a certain chance of performing Black Flash in the first to third hit. So this is exactly what you want to maximize the passive, I'm pretty sure. And then the ultimate itself, 1200. That's a lot of damage, 3-hitter. The first hit will be a Black Flash, increases first hit's Black Flash damage, increases first to third hit's critical hit damage. So that ultimate is going to be slapping, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, here it is. Okay, so the Suguru Vessel is standard. So when Black Flash is performed, increases own Black Flash rate by 100% for 3 turns, increases own taijutsu stat by 30%, and then recovers own curse energy by 5. So yeah, once you pop off that Black Flash, this man Loki just kind of consistently pops off, as you could say. So this Itadori is such an amazing green DPS. He genuinely makes such a comeback. So post adjustment, fabulous. SP Unleash, my man is disgusting. So one of the characters that I catered to at the very beginning. So yeah, do not sleep on this man. Very happy that he's getting his adjustments now, so you guys can make good use of him now, and then at a later time when the SP Unleash, then you can start cooking with him. Happy with Megumi too. Very happy that he got his loving. With his SP potential, it's more on the survivability, defense side of things, but it is what it is. So obviously with Blue Megumi, of course, 140 taijutsu damage. If Divine Dog Totality is active, increases own break damage by 100%, deals 331 Jujutsu damage to a selected enemy, and increases darkness when the Divine Dog is attacking. So you've always got that guaranteed hit right there. Very nice. Furthermore, going into the second skill, 199 Jujutsu damage to a selected enemy, stuns the enemy. You've got 120% chance, so bit of a GG at that point, guaranteed if you maximize that. Well, not guaranteed, but you guys get the idea. Increases the selected enemy's Jujutsu damage tree by 15%. So this is for blue units. So this part is not too bad, I will say. I do enjoy using Megumi as a bit of a nuisance type debuffing unit for the blue team if needed. Ignore darkness when attacking, which is very nice. If Divine Dog Totality is active, increases own break damage by 100%, 360 Jujutsu damage, ignores darkness when Divine Dog is attacking, so a bit of a bonus. And then when it comes to the third skill, I believe, yeah, he just got a damage boost, so it's just AoE damage right there. And then when it comes to the ultimate, activates Divine Dog Totality, disappears after the unit receives a certain amount of damage, increases own break damage by 100%, deals 1041 Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, ignores Darkness State. If Divine Dog Totality is already active, changes the skill effect, so you increase your own break damage by 100%, deals 1041 Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, and then ignores Darkness State when Divine Dog is attacking. And then, I'm pretty sure, okay, yeah, so Also, Parachute did get a little bit of a change up. So Divine Dog Totality is active, decreases own damage received by 20%. That stays the same. And pretty much with the Alpha Parachute, at the start of the battle, increases own damage dealt by 80%. Effective when the selected enemy is in break status. If Divine Dog Totality is active, increases own ultimate charging rate by 40%. If Divine Dog Totality is not active, increases own ultimate skill charging rate by 20%. So 40-20, so you want to active basically at that point. So yeah, Megumi himself was also a very nice blue unit with the buffs that he's getting. Definitely worth the worth the investment if you guys do want to maximize on your blue side of things. A little bit of stunning, a little bit of Jujutsu damage increasing, whilst having that Divine Dog kind of keeping Megumi protected, giving him that survivability. A unit that you guys can cater to and focus on, especially worthy within the SP potential. That's why I say you might want to consider setting him up for his potential system. Another fabulous addition is the boy Nanami. Hell yeah. So again, this is so with the boys that I'm looking at, it's nice to have these characters adjustment now, because once their SP potential system does come into play, it makes them pretty valuable, and it really does elevate them of being back into the swing of things in terms of just being high up there in like a tier list format with how usable that they are. So within the first skill, again, damage increase pretty much 90 across the board for melee and range, so Taijutsu and Jujutsu. In terms of his second skill, it does stay the same. They decided to kind of keep it as is. I wish they would have bumped it up a little bit more, maybe around the 100% region, but it is what it is. 83 on the critical hit rate and break damage, of course. And then when it comes to the third skill, when critical hit or black flash is performed, it increases damage dealt further. So that is pretty much that. So it will stay at it will stay at 211. There we go, 211 across the board. up, or you'll get a little bit more. Well, I mean, this Nanami does crit pretty consistently, so you can really benefit from this, so it's not the end of the world. And then in terms of his ultimate, again, range combination damage at 638 taijutsu, 638 jujutsu. When critical hit is performed, it increases damage dealt further. Again, that's pretty much where this Nanami really lies. Once those crits starts falling in, his damage does pick up, which I do love. In terms of his post adjustments, okay, so overtime work at the start of the 9th turn from the start of the battle, recovers curse energy by 30, fills ultimate skill gauge by 200%, and then jujutsu damage stat increased by 30%. So, but that's at the 9th turn, of course. So long, yeah. Any fight that you've got some sort of longevity in, you can benefit from the overtime work. So this is where things start kicking off. So zone outburst increases own black flash rate by 200% for 4 turns. Recovers own cursed energy by 5 when black flash is performed. That's pretty decent. I mean, you'll be able to get that. And then critical hit enhancement increases own taijutsu and jujutsu stat by 30% when black flash or critical hit is performed. It's a 50% chance, but like I said, this Nanami does crit quite pretty easily. So again, a very solid AoE green cleanup of a character. Again, you can set him up perfectly for his SP potential, as it does put him up on the board on being one of the better green AoE cleaners up that the game has to offer. So just kind of want to make sure that people are aware of that. So the characters that I've just shown, I think those are the ones that I would say a lot of people are more concerned with, or more kind of, you know, well, those are the ones that I would say, you know, just kind of keep your eye on those units specifically in terms of their usability as time goes on. But anyway, let's just kind of look at the remaining characters. So for the red typing, we've got Maki and okay, let me put you there, and we've got Panda. There we go. I know some people already put work into Maki. I know that there's some Maki fans out there. Yeah, she's still, like, I think even with the adjustment, I mean, well, with her SP potential, this is something that you guys can also set her up with if you guys want to invest into her. But in terms of where red typing is at right now, Yuta with buff coming in, Toji's, Mei, SP potential, Kugazaki, yeah, they are just SS tier. Can't, yeah. Anyway, so with Maki, of course, 180 on the taijutsu. With the second skill, 139 on the taijutsu, decreases selected enemy's taijutsu damage by 45%. That's pretty nice, to be honest. On the third skill, just getting a little bit of a buff, 225. It's an AoE taijutsu attack. And then on the ultimate, we're finally surpassing the 1000, so 1099 melee damage to selected enemies, a 2-hitter, of course. And then with the passive, so heavily restriction at the start of the battle, recovers own HP by 2%, reduce own damage received by 8%, and then at the start of the turn, it increases own taijutsu for 1 turn. The more enemies in the wave, the greater the damage boost. So very opposite to green Maki and blue Maki, of course. We need more enemies to benefit, to do more damage, so there's that. And then at the start of each wave, you get a taijutsu increase of 10%, and then a critical hit rate increase of 20%. So pretty standard, but again, Maki does go up 1 tier in terms of her SP potential, so that's something you guys can look into. In terms of the boy Panda, Panda isn't too bad. It's just utilizing a tanky defensive character. I don't recall ever needing to do that. I feel like we will just get it too offensive. But this Panda does get a decent buff. I'm not going to hate on Panda. Like, he is pretty, like, S tier, I'd say. Yeah, he's not too bad. I'm pretty sure he also gets his SP potential. Yeah, he does. So, yeah, he's not too bad. So, pretty much 199 melee damage, depending on how many cursed energy you have when the skill was activated. Additionally, increased the taijutsu damage up by 65%. So, 70 cursed energy there needed for max output, and then decreases the selected enemy damage by 22%. In terms of his buff, increases damage received by 15%. Again, depending on how many cursed energy, you can have the damage reduction up to 40% if you have 50 cursed energy, and then attract the selected enemy's attacks to self, and then decreases the selected enemy's critical hit resistance by 30%. So this is this is exactly what you want to see from a tank. I will say this Red Panda's buff to kind of be more defensive is by far one of the best. In terms of his third skill, increase his own taijutsu stat by 15%, sorry. And again, depending on how many calps count you have, you can increase the taijutsu damage up by 300%. Increase, all you need is 3 calps. Recovers own HP. The greater the own Kalpus count, the greater the HP recovery. So if you've got 1, 21%, and then if you've got 4, which is max, you get 55% increase. Oh, sorry, recovery, which is very nice, very nice. And then in terms of the ultimate, you get 10% damage increase. Increases damage dealt by 80% depending on how many attacks have been received. Increases to 7 attacks received. 1 attack will give you a 10% increase. So that's when the second skill comes into place, actually, to be fair. But furthermore, 902 melee taijutsu damage. Deals 225 melee taijutsu damage to all enemies. Recovers own HP by 15%. And then resets the count of attacks received. So realistically, to maximize this, drop that second skill, get minimum 7 hits, and then go with the ultimate. So this Panda, FYI, very solid. It's just with where things are right now, team comp wise. But if you have him leveled up, invested in a little bit, nice job. When he gets his SP potential, you can really cater to that second skill. But we'll get into that when the time comes. I mean, I've already pre-looked into it, but anyway, let's just kind of focus on the post adjustments. In terms of the skills, so he still gets his revival status, which is very nice. Kalp counts, or Kalpus counts, call it what you will, at the start of each turn, increases on Kalpus count by 1 up to 4 counts. So recovers own HP 1.5%, oh god, if the count is at 4. And then on top of that, increases own ultimate skill damage. Wait, what? Increases own ultimate skill damage with each attack received. There we go. Yeah, okay, so this is something which we already knew about through the skill up ahead. So yeah, again, a very solid character. You can set him up with his SP potential when it drops, and have yourself a fantastic tanky red panda. Okay, so I'm missing someone else. Oh, okay, I knew I was missing someone else. Okay, Todo. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really use this Todo, to be fair. So unfortunately, his first skill really isn't doing much. Second skill, no changes. I'm confused on where. Okay, where is this Todo's change then? Huh? Where is his change? Oh, they just gave him zone state. I swear they changed him. Am I tripping? I must be tripping. Activate zone state for 3 turns. While zone state is active, increases zone critical rate by what? 20%. Is that it? Am I tripping? Okay. All right. Okay. Alright, Todo. Let's just move on. Okay, so I'm not going to look at the SR characters, the movie characters. I mean, they did get their buff, but again, with how this game works, you know, resources are hard to come by, so I don't want to waste resources on that. We got ourselves the... Wait, who am I looking at? There we go, Kamo. I mean, does anyone utilize this man? Got a bad rep for its DPS attack, but 150 melee damage on this first skill, deals an additional 100% damage if flowing red scale is active. If flowing red scale is active, then you get a 30% damage increase. So that's pretty much the second skill. So pretty much on the second skill, oh okay, so activates the flowing red scale for 5 turns, increases own damage dealt special by 10%, increases own Jujutsu stat by 38%, recovers own curse energy by 5 every turn for 5 turns. Flowing red scale and special statuses cannot be stacked, so increases own damage dealt by 5%, increases own Jujutsu stat by 10%, decreases own damage received by 5%. When flowing red scale state deactivates, increases own damage received by 10%. Okay, right. I mean, there's a lot going on here, but compared to the other blue units, Kamo just doesn't seem to grow up. I'm hoping he gets his SP potential. That's all I'm gonna say. Unfortunately, with these post adjustments and with where he's at within the game, it's just, yeah. I'm gonna hope and pray that his SP potential maybe saves him. But anyway, 201 Jujutsu damage to the enemy. If flowing red scale is active, then you do 270 range Jujutsu damage to all enemies, and then his ultimate is unchanged. Unfortunate. It would have been nice, to be fair, if they gave him some more buffs on this one, but it's fine. Increases own damage dealt by 30%, and then you do 1352 Jujutsu range damage, and then no post adjustment skill change there. Alright, so with the green units, we just need to look at Panda and who else? Is it just Panda? I'm missing someone. No, it's just Panda. Okay, cool. So the green Panda, the OG Panda. There we go. I don't know if people still use this man, but anyway, he's still here. 150. I mean, I would cater to Red Panda, to be fair. But anyway, 150 melee. If Gorilla Mode is active, then you get a break damage increase of 25%, which then you deal 300% taijutsu damage. Second skill, Cursed Energy has gone down to 25, which is a W. Attracts all enemies for 1 turn. You get a damage reduction of 49%. You get yourself an ultimate skill gauge charging rate of a 10%. If Gorilla Mode is active, then you increase your taijutsu stat by 121%, and then you have a 15% damage received, or damage reduction basically. So, not too bad in terms of ult charging, as well as you know, protecting the whole team, taking one for the team, so it's not too bad. Again, still would cater to Red Panda. Going on with the third skill, 15 Cursed Energy, so that's a W, 482 melee damage. If Gorilla Mode is active, then you do 250 AoE. And then in terms of the ultimate, Gorilla Mode active, you give yourself a 100% taijutsu stat increase. Obviously you can't fill up your ultimate skill anymore because he's changed his mode. Decreases damage, so yeah, removes decreased damage Panda effect from self and increases own break damage by 50%. You do 1000% damage, you ignore counter states, and then give yourself a 10 energy recovery state. So that's pretty much that. In terms of the passives, it's just this Gorilla Mode that gets an additional. So when Gorilla Mode is active, change some skill effect, increases your taijutsu stat based on skill level along with break damage. If own skill gauge is filled, then you give yourself a 100% taijutsu increase, a damage increase of 50%, 25 cursed energy recovery, and then reduce all the ultimate skill gauge once. I mean, he's not bad, but I just wouldn't really go above and beyond for him, to be fair, in terms of investment. And then I think for yellow, we need to look into Junpei, we need to look into Inumaki, and then I think Mechamaru. And I think that's... Oh no, we're missing one... Okay, wait, hold on. We're missing one character from the blue side. So Junpei is actually an extremely not to be slept on character. I know some people do sleep on him, but trust me, do not. And he's getting his adjustments in. So 165 Jujutsu damage, decreases the selected enemy Jujutsu damage received by 32%. That's all for 3 turns. Increases the effect depending on how many turns of continuous poison damage the enemy has, up to an extra 15% if 3 turns. Oh, sorry, at 3 turns left. My bad. 3 turns. There you go. If multiple instances of effect are applied, the one with the most turns left will be counted. In terms of his second skill, he gets a nullification to self. Attracts all enemies, which is very nice. So again, kind of doing the tank roll right there. But he also gives himself a Jujutsu stat increase of 30%, and then decreases all allies' damage received of 20%. So that kind of gives that AoE coverage too, which is very nice. And then in terms of the third skill, 350 Jujutsu damage, deals 120% continuous poison damage, increases selected enemies damage received by 20% for 3 turns, 4 times, increases the effect depending on how many turns of continuous Jujutsu poison damage the enemy has, up to an extra 30% at 3 turns left. If multiple okay, once again, the most turns will be left counted. Okay, that's fine. And then the ultimate, 950 Jujutsu damage, deals 360 continuous poison damage, decreases the selected enemy Jujutsu damage by 48%. Once again, you've got that extra being added for 15%. And then in terms of his skills, at the start of the turn, increases own damage dealt to all characters from Tokyo Jujutsu High affiliation, the greater the boost, so up to 30% at 3 characters. So that's pretty much the additional from that skill. Not a character, I literally just pulled him on my JP account, FYI. I was trying to go for a second copy of May. I just did a YOLO multi. Lo and behold, my boy Junpei officially just popped up for me, and I'm just like, finally, about goddamn time. Yeah, not if you've got him built up already, then yeah, mate, you've got something good to come from him. In terms of Inumaki, I just really wouldn't care for this man. 159 Jujutsu, again you sacrifice your HP by 3%. If you aren't going against a formidable foe, then that's a 1% sacrifice, so it's not too bad. And then in terms of the second skill, you get a break damage of 100%, increase that is, 159 Jujutsu damage to a selected enemy, increases the selected enemy's damage received by 14%, and then again, if it's a formidable foe, you're losing out on the 5%. If it's not a formidable foe, then you're only losing 2% of your HP. Third skill, 0 cost, hallelujah. So you guys can recover some HP back at bare minimum 25%, which is very nice. Oh no, maximum, my bad, level 10. Reduces HP recovery count special by 1, so just keep that in mind if you are going to heal up. After the skill is used, applies the HP recovery count special to self 1 time after 6 turns has passed. So unable to use this skill when HP recovery count special is not applied. So just bear that in mind. And then the ultimate deals 1,199 Jujutsu damage to a selected enemy. The more HP he has, the greater the damage, up to 20%, and you need 70% or more to maximize this skill. Sacrifices 12% HP if it's a formidable foe. If not, you're going to do an 8, so that's not too bad on that part. And then when it comes to the skills themselves, if any allies will receive a fatal attack, nullifies the attack for 3 turns. Sacrifices the HP when the character nullifies an attack, so 1 time 10%, 2 times 15%, so on. And then at the start of the battle, apply HP recovery to self for 3 turns. At the start of every turn, recovers own HP by 10%. So I will say this passive is very clutch in terms of team survivability. So that's the one thing which I do like about this Inumaki, but that's pretty much it. Mechamaru. Whoo! Alright, so the boy Mechamaru, the breaker Mechamaru, deals 240 melee damage on that one. In terms of his buff, gets that counter state going in, 50% increase on break damage. Once the counter state is activated, if the enemy does a melee attack, then you do 145 of 140 melee damage as a counter damage. In terms of his third skill, increases own break damage by 250. Again, you're doing a combination of 220 taijutsu to 180 jujutsu, of course. And then the ultimate, 250 on the break damage increase, with then a combination of 699 taijutsu damage with a 466 jujutsu damage, of course. And then in terms of his adjustments, at the start of the battle, increases own break damage by 8%, increases own damage dealt by 100%, effective when the selected enemy is in break state. If the selected enemy enters the break state after attack, increases own damage dealt by 150%. So basically just getting a little bit of a buff in terms of the breakage as well as the damage output he can dish out. He does have his SP potential increase. It does do decently well, so I guess if you've got this man built up, because I know some people might want to capitalize on having a good yellow breaker, then yeah, just wait for his SP potential so that way he can cook up more. So it's not too easy, he's not being put in a bad position, I'll say that. Then the final character that I just want to look at is the blue Todo, which I don't know if anyone has actually worked on this man. Don't need to, but it is what it is. 180% on the taijutsu. Again, the Takata-chan, I think that stays the same, right? No, that's the additional. Oh, my bad. Oh wait, I just realized when I looked into this man, I was utilizing him when he had his Takata-chan guidance. So this man would have been gone in the waters for global right now. Okay, so when he does come in, you've got the guidance to stack up now. So increases your own damage by 1 time before attacking. If you've got 1 guidance, 40%, and then it goes all the way to 3 guidance, meaning 80%. Reduces Takata-chan guidance state by 1 after the skill was used, so there's that. Second skill, decreases own damage received by 12%. It recovers own HP by 7.7%. If the guidance state is active, changes the skill effect to reduce own damage by 14%. And then you recover 10% of your HP. It's at a 25 cost, that's per usual. Activates Takata-chan guidance state 4 times. And then of course, once again, you do overwrite the previous count. Increases own taijutsu stat by 40%. And then when it comes to his third skill, 360 melee damage, you've got a chance to inflict confusion state towards the enemy at 80%, and then if you do have the guidance in effect, then once again you get the damage increase, max at 25% by having 3. So yeah, that's pretty much the third skill. And then the ultimate, 1289 melee damage, you give yourself a 330 ultimate gauge fill. If the guidance is active, then you do same amount of damage. The more guidance, the greater the damage, additionally up to 20%, so that's a 4 guidance required. You do recover 20% of your HP. Inflicts to both skill effects. So performs a critical hit, increases own taijutsu stat for 4 turns, and damage dealt for 4 turns. The more guidance you have, the more additional will be at play. So at 0%, it will be at 31 increase. If at 4 guidance, you're getting a 62 increase, which is very nice. And then once again activates the guidance state 3 times, overwrites the previous state count. So that's something that you guys need to maximize on. In terms of the skills, Black Flash is performed, you give yourself a critical rate increase of 20%. And then the Takara-chan guidance at the start of the battle grants the guidance status to self, which is a 2-time. So you guys can maximize that. So it's all about those guidance, stack those up, and then you can get the best from this Todo. But even after that, just not a character. I mean, he's not bad. I know I've seen a few JP players utilizing this man, but I'm just not a big fan of him. That's all. It's just when it's in terms of my blue mono team, I would much rather cater to Momo, Inumaki, Geto, Blue Megumi, right? Those are just some of the ones that I would kind of more cater to. But yeah, that is pretty much the units. Again, I'm not really going to go over the SR units because, again, resources are very hard to come by. It does require a lot of, like, to level up a character to 150 once when Global gets there, it requires 25 million I think it's 20 million or 22 million. And then if you give them the plus 10, that's like an extra 5 million leveling up orbs. That is not the currency. And then when the SP potential comes into place, you are gonna when you're leveling up their skills, that's gonna cost a lot of the currency. So just too much investment required. So I really wouldn't cater to any of the blue units or the SR units. These units just won't do you any harm. Maki's the only one which I would say if you really need some blue DPS, you can invest into her at the bare minimum, but the others I just really wouldn't cater to. But anyway, fantastic W on the 11th. Movie rerun banner definitely happening. So if you haven't got any of these units and you do want to pick them up, they definitely will be coming back. So be prepared and be on the lookout for the rerun of the movie collaboration on Globe.